Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to everyone. I know that I've promised a Google Meet today regarding your feedback for your midterm questions, but I think that with great hope that we can do that once we are back at school. But I've already shared your marks on your WhatsApp group, so if you can look at the marks, and then later when we've got the chance to give feedback on your work, we'll do that later. Because I think that because you've mentioned that there's no English teacher coming in your class, and I think it's probably best for us to actually fulfill the syllabus first, and then we'll discuss the exam once we've got the chance. Okay, so for today, you're going to do a little bit of a writing task, but fear not, it's not going to be a very difficult writing task because it is only required of you to write almost from 80 to 120 words only. I'll show you how for you to do so. And then if you have any questions, you can straight away comment on the on the YouTube section. You comment there, and then or you can post questions there so that I can address them accordingly based on the need of your questions. I would like to remind you that from this point onwards, I would expect punctuality lah. Okay, so if you're not punctual and you're missing any chunks of my lessons, I think it's probably best for you to look back at lessons before you actually ask me what you're supposed to do, because I don't think it's fair for me to be here on time while you are not on time and then you expect me to repeat for you. Okay, so congratulations to those who are already here. I appreciate that. To those who are not here yet and then probably joining us later, I think it's probably best for you to look back at this at this video again, to help you better understand what was I trying to present. Okay, so without further ado, let me share this screen first. Okay, so today you're going to write about a vacation, or what we call going on a holiday. Okay, vacation is more of it's more of an American term compared to what we are used to. Okay, so vacation is the same as going on holiday. All right, so when you're expected to write a travel advice, what does travel advice mean? Okay, travel advice means it's almost like a travel guide. You're giving your audience or your reader the guide to travel to a place. Okay, meaning to say that panduan lah macam mana untuk melawat suatu tempat. Okay, so when you are writing a travel advice, okay, you need to know where you are going. Okay, so in this case, you are going to use the phrase of "we are going to," okay, or "I'm going to," "we are going to," right? So when you're writing travel advice, you are foreseeing. Awak cuba untuk meramalkan, okay, foreseeing which place that you are going to write about. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a place that you've been to. Okay, in this task, you can just choose any of the places that you want to write about. Okay, so the examples that we have here is Beijing, Rome, Italy, Sydney, Australia, Paris, France, London, and New York. Okay, so you are going to use that phrase lah. We are going to, I'm going to. Okay, if you are going to Beijing, for example, you should blah blah blah. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to decide where you're going, the place that you're going to write about. Okay. Next is when. When are you going? When is bila? Okay, so you are going to write, for example, we are leaving on the 15th of June, I think. We are leaving on the 15th of June 2021. Okay, so you have to write when you are going. Okay, when are you going? And then after that, the most important thing is, the next important thing after when is that how do you get there? Bagaimana awak nak pergi ke sana lah. So you can see there there are quite a few methods of going to a place. You can go there by plane, by boat, by train, on foot, by bike, by car, or by bus. Okay, so you can use the structure of we'll get there by plane, or we'll get there by boat, you will get there by train, etc. Okay. Next one is how long will you stay? Okay, so in this case, sometimes you just stay for days. Days means beberapa hari lah. And then it could be that you are staying for weeks. Weeks means beberapa minggu. And it could be months. Okay, in this case, it's beberapa bulan lah. Okay, so if you see there, for April, there will be 26 days. From 3 to 28 is 26 days. From 7 to 21, from 7 to 27 is going to be 3 weeks. And if you are going from May to June, you're going there for 2 months. Okay. So after you decided how long are you going to be there, you're going to point out where will you stay. Okay. We'll stay in there. Where will you stay? It's talking about the accommodation. Kat mana awak nak tinggal when you are going for a vacation. Okay. So in this case, you can use the chunk of language or the structure of we'll stay on a farm, or we'll stay in a hotel, we'll stay in a tent, we'll stay in a castle, and we'll stay in an apartment. Okay. After you've decided your accommodation, you have to talk about the activities there. Okay. What will you do there? You will eat what? Ice cream, fruits, hamburger, or seafood. Okay. We'll go hiking, fishing, swimming, or we'll go to the beach. Okay. Next one. We'll see landmarks, mountains, animals. Okay. So to help you write what will you do there, you can divide them into 3 categories. Okay, we are going to talk about what you will do there, about what you will eat, okay, about where will you go, and what will you see. Okay, so that's about it. So now I'm going to share with you samples of travel advice that has been done by by 2 of your seniors. Okay, for example, Umar Mahmoud, he's in 4 by now. He did this when he was in Form 3. Okay, so his travel advice is like Tokyo is an amazing place during holiday because there's a lot to see and do. There's a lot of way to go there. You could either, okay, if you can see there's a lot of way to go there, meaning to say there's a lot of ways. So in this case, he's talking about the transportation. Okay, there's a lot of ways to go there. You could either use bus or taxi. Bus is way more cheaper than taxi. Okay, so this Umar is talking about the transportation to go there. And then there's also a lot of cafes and restaurants. Okay, he's talking about the restaurants that he could find in Tokyo. Okay, there are delicious foods such as sushi, dorayaki, ramen, and others. Okay, there are some interesting places in Tokyo. If you're a fan of animes, then there's a lot of anime cafes. You could also buy some souvenirs. This place is really great. Okay, so when you are writing later in your travel advice, I would expect you to talk about 1 is transportation, 2 about restaurants and cafes that you could find in the place, and number 3 is interesting places that you think you could find in those places. Okay, and next one is also a sample. Later I'll share this PowerPoint on your WhatsApp group to help you to write your piece lah. Okay, so this person is writing about Venice. Okay, Venice is a wonderful place to visit with your family anytime, anywhere. Most airports in Malaysia have flights to Venice as it is one of the most important popular places people want to go. You can also ride the train as they are linked not only to Italian cities but other European cities too. Okay, there are many good restaurants in Venice, and you must know that Venice people actually rely on their food with fish and vegetables rather, but they still have pizza and pasta as home of for Pizza It's Italy. Most buildings in Venice seriously can make you guys be totally impressed by its unique decoration and the size of the buildings. You guys also don't miss to not have a ride in a gondola on the river between buildings, as it really has an attractive view for eyes. Okay, right. So this is samples of students' work. Okay. All right. Before I move further, before I proceed, any questions? Any questions? There's only 4 of you online now. I'm shocked. Because your class should start at 8, and apparently you haven't actually learned how to be punctual. There's no change in attitude, it seems. Okay. Okay. If there's no question, I don't see any questions there. I'm going to proceed to show you how should you write your travel advice. Okay, let me share screen first. Okay, so later, I'm going to share with you the link for Google Docs. Okay, so when you're writing your travel advice here, as you can see, okay, there's a sample there for you to write your travel advice. Okay, let's look at the sample. Popular places in Europe, Lisbon. Okay, so I don't expect you to write so long. It's just this much. Okay, if you can see that, this just this much, your travel advice. Okay, so what you would do is you're going to write it in such a way like this. Okay, your name and then the place that you are going to talk about. I'm sorry, your name and then where you are from. Okay, so if you are from Pasir Gudang, you can write Ahmad Pasir Gudang. Okay, so date of trip. Okay, when did you when did you go for this trip? Okay, so if you haven't gone to this trip already, you can just make up any date for you. It doesn't have to be true. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is, okay, this is talking about Lisbon. Lisbon is in Portugal. Okay, Lisbon is a great place for a weekend because there is a lot to see and do. There are flights from the main European cities every day. There's a bus from airport to the city, or take a taxi because they are inexpensive. Travel around the city by tram. They are great. There are great cafes and restaurants in every street, and try the delicious Portuguese cakes. There are some beautiful buildings in Lisbon, and don't miss a fado show because the Portuguese music is very beautiful. So this is the travel advice that I expect from you. It's not that long. Okay, so notice that good travel advice answer the following question. Okay, so when you're writing a travel advice, look back at these questions. What's the name of the city? How can you travel there? Okay, what's the name of the city? It doesn't have to be somewhere abroad, overseas. It can be somewhere local. Okay, perhaps you know JB very well, or you know KL very well, or Malacca very well. So you can talk about that as well. How can you travel there? Again, we've talked about different mode of transportation that we can use to reach the place that you are writing about. Okay, where can you eat? You're talking about restaurants, cafes, or any special delicacies of food that you can find there. What can you eat? Okay, examples. What can you see? Meaning any special, interesting places that you could see in those places. And what can you do is the activity that you could do there. Okay, so now you are going to write your own travel advice. Based on the questions above, you may use the sample above to help you. Please also include pictures in your travel advice so that it will make your advice interesting. Okay, so now that we have established that you are going to write on Google Docs, and for this time around, for this writing task, I need you to submit your work on Google Classroom. Okay, so as I can see here in your Google Classroom, Muhammad Danish Ashraf is not signed in, Muhammad Kashfil Haris is not signed in, Muhammad Muzaffar, Muhammad Raif, and Shahmi Khuzairi has not signed in. So for those who have not signed in, you are going to find a way on how to sign in because you are going to submit your work through Google Classroom. Okay, so if you can see in your Google Classroom, okay, so there's an instruction there. Okay, you just click on travel advice. Okay, after that, you just write your answer or your travel advice here. Okay, remember when you are writing a travel advice, it's important that you have the picture of the places that you're talking about. Okay, please have one or two pictures to accompany your travel advice. Okay, so after that, you can just submit your work. After you answer this kind of after you answer this writing test, and then you can submit your work. Okay. Okay, Muhammad Izzat asked, teacher, can we use WH question to do essay? Of course, you need to use the WH question that we've discussed just now. Okay. Okay. This one. Okay, what's the name of the city? How can you travel there? Okay, you can use this to help you, but do not sound please do not sound stiff lah. Okay, make it sound very natural, sound very like a travel guide sort of thing. Okay. All right. Okay, any other questions before I end this session? Any other questions? No? Okay. Whether you have watched this stream or not, I would expect this task to be done by 9 lah, because your class ends at 9. So by 9, I want all your travel guide or travel advice to be submitted to me through Google Doc. Okay, please use Google Classroom to submit your work. We've done this before, right? Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, I should end the broadcast, and then if you have any more questions, you can ask on WhatsApp. Should we add proverb or similes to do travel guide? I wouldn't actually advise on it lah. Okay, you don't have to use proverb or similes because travel advice is something very practical. It's not what we call creative language. It's a factual piece. So when you're writing factual piece, try to avoid this what we call a proverb or similes. It's not something that we can use everywhere. Proverbs and similes, we use it for creative purposes, and this normally for writing narratives or story. Okay? Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay, you have approximately another 40 minutes to do your writing, to do your travel advice. Do not think too much, just straight away write and then straight away submit your work through Google Classroom. Okay, I think that's all for now. I would expect your work by 9. All right, thank you, class.